Welcome to another episode of the Next Generation podcast. Today's guest, I'm not even going to try and introduce her because of just how amazing Callyn is and just the impact that she has in the health and wellness space, inside and outside of agriculture. So, Callyn, welcome to the podcast. I would love it if you could just start off by introducing yourself, a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Lauren, thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege to be here. I'm so excited to be the voice of health and wellness for the agricultural industry. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Callyn Hahn. I am the founder of Callyn Hahn Enterprises as well as the Dialed In Coaching. So technically, we have two business facets, but ultimately, Dialed In Coaching is what we are the most known for. My business partner, Melissa Rodabaugh, she is a powerhouse entrepreneur. She has built 14 businesses from the ground up, and she is a huge facet to our mindset coaching, where we take clients to the next level, not only physically with nutrition and exercise. That would be me, or as what our business coaches would say, Callyn gets people hot bodies. And then Melissa brings everything full circle to really elevate that mindset to go along with it. So the transformations that we have with clients are truly exceptional, not only from the outside, but for people wanting to grow on the inside as well and become that next version of themselves.
Yes, and I just have to say, Callyn and her team do a phenomenal job. I know so many people who have gone through their programs and just seen exponential change, both in their physical physique, but then just in their mental space and how they walk into rooms and how they lead their lives. And so I'm so excited to dive into today's conversation and just talk a little bit more about health and wellness. But guys, we're not going to do the surface level health and wellness today. We're going to get
No,
nitty
ma'am.
gritty. We're going to get into the trenches on a lot of different topics, whether that be just your physical physique, whether it be something like that I personally struggle with is discipline, or whether it be just your mental status or your environmental standards or different things like that. So, Callyn, I think the first question I have for you is what do we all need to be doing right now? Like where are you seeing a lot of people struggle? What are some things that are common themes, different things like that, kind of in that nitty gritty area of starting to get into those weeds?
Absolutely. A lot of the things that we see are just simply people feeling almost guilty about taking care of themselves. This is something you see a lot of moms who, they were in college, they were taking care of themselves, went and started forming a career, or working on the ranch or whatever they may be doing. And then they start a family and now they're living a different season of life where it's hard to find that work-life balance, or it's hard to find like the ranch balance with being a parent and then also taking care of yourself. So there's a lot of individuals that I always say, like, pour your cup first. Your cup needs to be poured, because in order for you to show up as your best as a parent, as an owner, as an employee, and as anything, you need to make sure that you're taken care of. And the foundational structure of our programs is always understanding that your mindset and nutrition are on an even playing field. People need to eat the foods that are going to best serve them so that their brain function and their hormones are running at optimal speed. That helps you better decipher decisions. It helps you better able to communicate with individuals. It eliminates all your symptoms throughout the day. So you no longer have excuses as to why you don't want to go to the gym or why you can't go into work today. When you are able to like really dive deep and understand your body from a whole different level, and identifying those foods that cause the symptoms, identifying foods that are going to throw your hormones off, that right there is a foundation that everybody should have that knowledge. And the amount of people that come to us that haven't even started learning their body, and it's like, man, you've been living in your body for 40, 30, 50 years, and they don't have that foundational knowledge of knowing their response to individual foods. But they're eating healthy, they're eating clean, they're eating everything that the internet told them to, because chicken salad is healthy, or under like eating vegetables, chicken and rice is healthy for them. When I started on my health and wellness journey, I started in the bodybuilding. competitive space. So clearly I showed livestock, and then I aged out and decided, well, why not show myself? So when I started in bodybuilding, my coach put me on, I was eating broccoli, chicken, and rice. And then I had like peanut butter and apples was like one of my snacks. And then I had like sweet potatoes, for another meal, but just generic health foods. And I swelled up like a balloon. And I kept going into these check-ins and I'm like, how come I am not cutting any weight? Like I'm not losing any pounds at all. I had that plateau frustration and I needed answers because I was like, okay, all my other teammates, all these other athletes make this look so easy. And I know I'm grinding harder in the gym. I'm a livestock girl. I can handle pain. I can handle lifting weights. Like I can lift heavy things. I could do cardio. I could do all these things, but I felt that resistance of like, why is it not working for me? That's where we had to do a deep dive and all the healthy foods I was eating, the peanut butter, the apples, the chicken, the rice, the broccoli, all of it, oats, whatever was on my meal plan, I was sensitive to. So for me to like take a couple steps back, learn my body, and then it just springboarded my ability to get insane results. And from that point forward, once I knew my response to foods and knew that the quote healthy foods were the ones that were causing my inflammation, it set me free mentally to understand that I don't have to eat by the quote health standards of what the internet says or what doctors tell me. What we found is, yes, those foods I was sensitive to, but fruits and vegetables do not serve me well at all. So if I were to go to the doctor and say, hey, I have endometriosis or, I have like PCOS, I have hormone imbalances, they'd be like, eat your fruit and vegetables, you'll be fine. Don't eat too much red meat, it'll raise your cholesterol. Well, my body works on a different foundation. Fruits and vegetables don't serve me, but red meat allows me to be at the high level of my game. I'm running on optimal speed with high levels of red meat in my body. There was a time in my journey when that's all I was eating was steak, and the amount of people that would come up to me and be like, honey, you need to eat something different. Like my family, like you can't just eat steak all the time. Like it was so abnormal. I'm like, what do you mean I can't eat steak all the time? I grew up on a cattle ranch. That's all we had in the freezer. My little body when I was a child thought that red meat and like eating steak all the time was the only food I had access to is because we ate it all the time. So, what we've learned in this process of learning your body with nutrition is a lot of it has to do with our childhood upbringing. When we sat at the kitchen table with our family, were we encompassed with an amazing environment? Did we have good conversations? Did we feel like we were in a safe place? Because our emotions play a huge role in how we digest foods. And in my family, we always had a great time at the dinner table. It was always filled with amazing conversation of like, how was your day? We would all like kind of get caught up to speed, but like which calf got out, which fences broke, whatever. And like we just had like a good environment where we just talk about normal things. I have a lot of clients that come to my roster and they didn't have that experience with their upbringing. There was a lot of tension at the kitchen table. And when you live in an environment such as that, you have to ask yourself, are you going to have a harder time digesting foods if your environment is not the safest place for you? The answer is yes, every single time. So when we look at emotional trauma, it's like we really got to go back to childhood and figure that out. Then there's another component that when certain kids only ate macaroni and cheese, and then they grow up and they're like, okay, I got to go off to college. I got to eat healthy. I got to eat, vegetables. I have to eat all these things because the internet is telling me to that this is what healthy is. Well, if your body calibrated or what we call grounded to the certain foods that you ate in childhood, when you all of a sudden introduce vegetables in, your body's going to be like, what is this? So it's going to be really hard that we find this a lot. Like there's some people that truly only ate macaroni and cheese when they were a kid. And as adults, I have to tell them it's okay that we bring that back into your diet because that's all your body knows how to digest. So from a emotional standpoint of, understanding environment, but then also knowing what your gut microbiome, your digestive enzymes, what all of that calibrated to when you were a child, those two play a key role in understanding your body's development and knowing what foods are going to adhere to your body. So this is how we take a different approach is I will ask a lot of questions about childhood to further understand what we're working with in terms of clients because that is going to surface about half of the information. Another thing that's going to happen is overconsumption of food over time. And that's where your food sensitivities come in. So I have some people that say food sensitivity tests are bogus, they mean nothing. But I see things from a different perspective because sometimes when people think it doesn't help or solve anything, the symptoms that those foods present are on such a micro level that if you're not consuming a whole lot of them or you're not eating a whole bunch of them together and stacking them up, you don't have symptoms aggressive enough to really understand. Or they're in the phase of they're living in so much pain, they're living with so many symptoms that they just can't even dissect what's actually causing the root of it. So when it comes to nutrition, there's a lot of things that come full circle. And this is why having a dietitian in your corner is very beneficial for you to help start that foundational knowledge. And then when you learn how to pinpoint certain trigger foods, then it just becomes automatic. It becomes the new way of eating, it becomes the new way of life. And you prioritize that when you respect foods and eat them for the way that you feel instead of eating them because it's a pizza party, we're celebrating. Oh, it's Jimmy's birthday. We're gonna have cupcakes. Everybody's gotta have cupcakes. Oh, it's a wedding. Gotta have the wedding cake at the wedding. We also understand that, like I said, nutrition and mindset play even playing fields in our business. Because if you don't have the mindset to adhere to a dietary plan, it's never gonna work for you. If you always go into a program saying, oh, I'm going to start this diet, I can't wait until it's over and then I can start binging again. So the way you speak to yourself, the way you speak to yourself about food, and it's really unique that Melissa and I have this amazing ability to work together is because she will be on a call and she'll like get off of it and immediately call me and she'd be like, I was on the phone with so and so. I heard anxiety in her voice and she also was complaining about cheating. We know her meal plan's off. So we pinpoint the trigger food that is causing her to want to cheat. So for a lot of people that want cheat meals or, want this, want that, I will tell you this, when we have nutrition dialed in on all of our clients, they don't want any of those foods. They don't crave any foods. Like they literally stay in their lane of like, these foods serve me well. And that's the only thing that they prioritize, the only thing that they want. It's because they know those foods make them feel so good. And it's like that level 1000 energy that like everybody's craving. I mean, you have to realize like in today's society, we have so much caffeine this, Starbucks here, there's so many different options that people are like, oh, I think I'm getting a crash of energy. They don't stop to ask themselves, did I eat a trigger food that spiked my blood sugars and I'm in a crash right now? So the root cause is finding that trigger food that spikes your blood sugars and then now allows you to be in a crash. But instead, we're looking for those band-aids. We're like, oh, I need caffeine. I need a 5-hour energy. I need a Red Bull, whatever, just to get me through. And you see this a lot with people who travel with livestock trailers. I was one of those. I was the girl that would like probably drink 8 Red Bulls while I was like traveling to Denver or something. But the reality is, I had to like get to the forefront of understanding what was causing the crash. And when I found out what my trigger foods were and found out that they were healthy foods, it rewired my brain something fierce because in the moment I was like, how have I been lied to my entire life? That these foods were healthy for everybody. But the reality is like I'm like learning different information. to where a lot of those foods that were, quote, healthy, but then the foods I was supposed to stay away from were the best thing for me. So for that, it's really hard for people to understand that even though it's a health food, it doesn't mean it's for you. And I have clients that have been with me for probably 6 months that are still like, I want to revert back to the old way I was thinking. And they're like, it's because it was such a comfortable hell that this unfamiliar heaven that I'm in right now just feels too good to be true. That it's like your mind will always go back to that comfortable hell of where you were because not feeling great was comfortable for people for so long. And if you've been living in that for 30, 40 years, boy, it's easy to go right back to that mindset. So when it comes to like truly elevating your mindset, other things that we focus in on is not your ability to adhere to a meal plan, but how to make it long-term sustainable. And you have to look at your environment. I know we were talking earlier, and understanding your environment is so critical. I mean, like when you're out and about at shows, like do you see people like in like health and wellness, like people who have taken the steps towards health and wellness, are you seeing a lot of them talk about their environment at all?
No, it is so foreign to so many people.
That's what a lot of people just think of fitness in general. And they're like, hey, I'm going to go on a health and wellness journey or I'm going to get fit. I'm only going to go to the gym. I'm going to kind of 50% do my nutrition plan. But mindset, I don't need that. I don't need mindset. I don't even know what environment is. So don't even tempt that with me. But those four pillars right there, exercise, knowing your nutrition, your mindset, and your environment are what we call our fitness formula. Those four pillars make up our formula that is literally getting these people next level results. Now, I want to talk about environment because it is so, so
Yes.
important. You become the average of the five people that you surround yourself with all the time. So we do deep dives and not only your physical environment, but your emotional stability to strive in that environment as well. So if you are the only person in your friend group that is going on this health and wellness journey and you go out to eat with your friends, but you bring your little dish with you, like you bring your meal prep because you're like, hey, this is what has made me feel good for the last 3 weeks, but I'm just going to bring it on my friend's date and everybody's eating fast food or whatever you're eating, and they're looking at you like, why are you eating that? Why are you doing that? And they're asking you all these questions coming at you at a place of negativity, making you feel guilty for showing up for you in the best possible way. So we teach you how to handle those conversations, how to handle being in your environment if you do surface some level of toxicity, and how to communicate your way through that with your core group of people, whether it be your family or your friends. But you also have to consider when people start seeing you have high level of success. If people aren't willing to rise with you, they will do everything in their power to put chains on you to hold you back. So it's a great opportunity for you to test the people in your environment and ask them simple questions. And we'll tell you what the response is going to be, positive or negative, if they're a good influence in your life. And ways to either spark their mindset for change, or if they're the type of person that's not going to change and they're always going to be that one to hold you back, you know what the answer is. That person may be toxic for me. Maybe I need to engage with them less or find, a friend who's going to replace that situation that's going to be more conducive for my growth and development. So people are a huge role in our interactions that we have with our ability to gain high level success. And it's not only like that with health and wellness and, nutrition, fitness, your personal journey, but it's also your professional journey. Because when conversations with people are of Oh, remember back in the day when we were in high school, we went to state and football? Or, like a lot of those questions, if you're constantly talking about the past, those aren't people that necessarily feel like they should be a part of your future. So it's just the transition of understanding where conversation development should be. With Melissa and I, yeah, we will talk about the past occasionally, but it is very briefly to, note a certain thing for our forward speaking conversation. But every single day that we converse, and even like when we're, talking with other business partners, people in our core group, it's always about what are we doing next? What are we doing next? Like, what is the next move that's going to take us to the next level, that's going to help the most amount of people? Like, we are so forward thinking that is really hard. Like I went home for Christmas and I just had some people that I hadn't seen in a while, and it was so crazy the dynamic of the conversation. There was nothing that was forward, and I was used to this for like years, just talking to people who are always forward thinking, and then when you get in that situation, you're like, man, I haven't talked about the past in a really long time, and it actually makes me uncomfortable now to sit and dwell on the past. It's like, well, things in the past, but people change. When people change, it's no longer like the past means nothing. It just means that's something that you physically or mentally went through that cultivated who you are today and who you're becoming. So the wild thing is the highest level entrepreneurs that I know right now were C average students. They literally, like, if you look back at their track history, they were the ones that messed up all the time. They probably went to jail. They they probably partied too hard in college. They were like the rebels, like the ones that really decided that, hey, we're not going to be another sheep. Like, we're literally going to be that lion that's going to chase the herd. Have you ever read that book, Chase the Lion?
Yes, I have. It is so good. To anyone listening to this, I will link it down below. Like go read it, go listen to the audiobook. Oh, it was a life-changing book. Life-changing book.
Was there a specific quote or anything that just kind of hit you hard in that one?
Oh gosh. I read that book like a year and a half ago probably at this point. I can't pen a quote right now, but if I went and pulled it out, I could probably find my highlighter marks all over it.
No worries. I mean, just the overall quote of like chase the hard.
Yeah.
That right there resonates with us so
Yes.
much. And here's the really cool part. You are on the rise to a like growth phase, as if like say you read that book again,
Mhm.
you're going to look at it from a completely different perspective. If you notice you're reading the same book, but you see things through a different perspective, and this is why I'll read books multiple times, is because the first time I read that book, there were certain things that I was learning from a business standpoint. So I saw myself as like the student, the underdog, everything. The second time that I read that book, it's like I was reading it from such a totally different perspective because I was in a different season of my business growth. We had already accomplished so many of our goals, and, we were like understanding that our business was growing so rapidly and we were more in a comfortable phase where it's like, man, we look back and we're like, we really went through the trenches. And when you go back and read through something and you see it through a whole different lens with a different, like, almost like clarity. When you have like prescription of glasses that you put on and you're just like, man, I just got these new prescription of glasses. I went to the eye doctor and got my eyes tested, answered all the questions to my best abilities, and then you put these glasses on, you're like, let's go. 2020 vision, I can see. But then when you go home, like you start getting that headache, and then you start questioning of like, did I really answer those questions right? I'm a little confused right now. Like my head is pounding, but your eyes have to adjust to that new prescription. So when it comes to like business growth and development or your like physique, when you're like trying to grow with your nutrition, trying to grow with your fitness goals, you're always going to have that pain point where it's like you left thinking like, man, I have clarity. I know exactly how to go there. And then you hit that headache phase of you're like, oh, okay, I'm not quite sure I see this as clearly. And this is why having coaches in your corner is so important, is because we make the adjustments along the way to allow you to know that that prescription is right for you. That it's like, okay, take those glasses off for a little while, let that headache go away. You are on the right path. We're going to put them back on again tomorrow, and we're going to keep grinding. So it's just a different like analogy for us to explain like what we truly do and how having coaches do those assessments along the way like really make you feel aligned with where you're going in the future. Because boy, how easy is it for us to have so much doubt sometimes on this didn't go like, sunshine and rainbows like I thought it was going to be. Like there are certain phases where just think of like the beginning of the year. You start New Year's resolutions, and a lot of people are like, hey, I'm right on track. And then 2 weeks in, you realize, like, oh, actually, I have a busy schedule now. And then you're like, get thrown off because you're like, oh my gosh, I just had a day where I just couldn't get a workout in. Well, all or nothing approach. Since I didn't get the workout in today, screw the whole rest of the week. I'm just going to eat fast food. I'm going to, get off my meal plan. See, we don't allow that because we set you up for those obstacles that are going to happen. Everybody has that one day where it's like, man, everything's impossible. And making sure that you have mental peace is so important with like the vitality of understanding that your mindset has to be in full compliance, that it's going to fit into your lifestyle. Unless somebody has a bodybuilding journey that they're going through, I mean, that's a 3-month aggressive cut where you literally have to work out every day, cardio every day. If you don't do it every day, you got to double up the next day, which is extremely painful. Everything has to be so on point. But when this is your life and you're transitioning lifestyles, let's be honest, livestock people don't have access to a gym unless you're going to a hotel. If you're out at the ranch, you basically have kettlebells, weights, some bands. You got buckets, you got bales of hay that you can chuck around. Like you have access to basically so much stuff. Like if you have any like gates or fences that have like overhangs on them, you could do pull-ups on them. Like there is a means to work out in the comfort of your own home. Like there is so much peace to that, but it's like you have to create that environment mentally where it's like, hey, I can work out from literally anywhere doing anything. And understanding that I always tell people never chase calorie burn. Instead, heal your trauma because everybody has a root cause of a trauma that allows them to have an excuse. And when it comes to exercise, the reality is we don't burn calories because we are consuming too much. When you think of exercise, you should think of it from the standpoint of helping you metabolize the food you already ate. One thing most people don't know is exercise is the number one digestive enzyme that we can have. So when you approach exercise with the mindset of like, hey, I'm going to lift heavy to increase my metabolism because it takes a lot of energy to repair my body, and thus my digestive tract is going to run at optimal speed. Or if you're counting steps, if you're out on the ranch and you're like, hey, I'm getting 15,000 steps per day, that is plenty of steps for you to help metabolize your food. Have a burger, enjoy it. But if you're, say, a secretary or like you're an accountant, and there's a season of life throughout the year where you have to sit at a desk, maybe your nutrition needs to reflect where your lifestyle changes are. Or if you have like a busy season, like you're working a trade show at a livestock event, first of all, the travel there, if you're bringing a trailer, you're gonna be sitting in a vehicle all day. you probably shouldn't be eating a whole lot of foods that are hard to digest if you're sitting in a truck all day. Then the same thing, if you're sitting at a trade show all day, you probably shouldn't be eating fried foods, things that are extremely hard on your gallbladder, your liver and kidneys. Like you got to be kind to your body. And in those seasons of life when you need that sedentary setup, like we equip people for life from the standpoint of we don't care what season you're going to know all the seasons on what is going to be the best for you because that's what's going to set people up for ultimate success. If you're just running on macros, I will tell you this, there's one macro that my body cannot digest at all. I was not born naturally with the digestive enzymes for it, and it is the one thing that allows my PMS symptoms to come back. So I can't digest fats. Even though I can eat steak, I have to rinse the fat off of it. Or if it's like ground beef, I have to like rinse the meat and I have to cut the fat off. Now that is rare because most women need fats in order to stabilize their hormones. So there are a lot of unicorns out there that need something specific. And it's like, how do you make that priority on understanding what your body needs, especially when you're traveling? And it's all communication. Like when I go to an Outback Steakhouse or a Texas Roadhouse or anything like that, clearly steak is my jam, but I'm very specific in the way that I order. So when you think of health and wellness, it's having a voice for yourself. It's how can I clearly communicate my order? And for me, I'm sensitive to soy, dairy, so I'm like, please cook my steak with no oil, no butter, no like marinades, no seasonings. Like I literally just want meat and salt. That is it. And like when you learn how to communicate that, boy, it makes it pretty easy. It makes it so easy for you to go anywhere and know exactly what you want. And if you do go to a restaurant and you don't clearly communicate, it's like a little spanking for you because you're like, great, now I have all these symptoms because I did not communicate what my order needed to be. I'm going to do a better job next time. Now, I will say the general public doesn't have the food sensitivities that I do. So there are some people that can eat a much broader spectrum of foods than I can. But in my situation, like I just found out what makes me feel the best. Do I have a couple veggies every once in a while? Yes, because I do believe in nutrient recycling. And that's understanding that women every week of the month need different nutrient requirements. So understanding like your hormone flows and what stage of your cycle that you're in, what your body is actually needing and requiring, that is important as well. So like not only knowing from a dietary standpoint what season of life you're in, knowing what stage of your cycle you're in can be a component as well. And some people listening are probably like, this girl is just getting way too overwhelming. But when you want to talk about the nitty gritty of like learning your body and diving deep, these are the things you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to problem solve. You're going to learn that you can be kind that time of the month. Let's be honest, ladies, there is a way you can be kind that time of the month. Once you learn and establish and figure that out, boy, you have life made. Because if you're a mom right now and you've got girls that are going through puberty, you got babies that have diaper rash, learning how to solve all those problems, it's a superpower. It is a superpower that nobody can take away from you. So understanding your body from like a nutrition standpoint, physical fitness, the exercise, knowing your mindset, knowing your environment. Those are all skill sets, what we like to call generational wealth. When you can pass it down to your kids, these skill sets become incredible. When you can gift it to your friends and teach your friends, when you know how to elevate your husband's mindset to where his brain is firing on all cylinders, and now he is doubling his income that he's bringing in this year because he can show up to work at his best and still come home and show up for you and the kids, that's a superpower. And for women, especially being in the home, like we have full control over that. Whether we decide what kind of life are we going to live? Are we going to live with one with excuses and putting band-aids on all the problems? Just give the kid an Advil, he'll be fine. Just, putting all these different masks on it. Or are you going to take the route that most don't travel and truly learn things from a foundational standpoint? That's what takes people to the next level so much faster, is when you do those deep dives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it all really just comes down to the fact of like, are you willing to do the hard thing for a little bit? Like, are you willing to look at your life and say, you know what, I'm going to be uncomfortable for the next 3 months, 6 months, however long it takes. And then you're going to get it to a point where a flip is going to switch, a switch is going to flip, and it's not going to be hard anymore. You're going to be like, no, I'm doing this because I feel good. I'm doing this because I want to feel this way. I'm doing this because I don't want to go home and feel like I can't sleep, or I don't want to eat that lunch and then be groggy for the rest of the day. Like, you're doing it from a mindset and a place of being so in tune with your body that you don't want to go back. And those first few months are hard. Those first 6 months of figuring that stuff out is hard. Like for me, I can't eat pork. I was not born with the digestion whatever to be able to digest pork properly. And so whenever I do have a piece of bacon, whenever I do have a pork chop every once in a while or something like that, I feel terrible. And I'm fully reminded again of why I cut this out. And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing standpoint, but it's really allowing yourself just the power and control to know that, like, hey, I'm consciously making this decision to eat this piece of bacon. And I know it's probably not going to make me feel great, but that's okay. I'm making it consciously. I'm making that decision, and that's okay. It's just being in tune with where you are and your own body.
Love the way that you said that, is because that is our mindset too. Like during the holidays, we had plenty of clients that were like, okay, we know the foods that we definitely need to stay away from because we do not want those symptoms at all. But then
Mhm.
on the other perspective, they're like, we actually don't know what these three foods do. So we actually want to trial them. So we call them trials. Anytime that you want to explore a food that you're just not sure exactly what it does for you, we trial it. And we have a trial protocol set up to where it's like, hey, and I tried like scotcheroos. Hello, America's best dessert ever. Scotcheroos is one thing that I trialed one time, and I actually didn't really feel bad after eating them. And I even waited a couple days for it to get to my lower GI tract, and I'm like, okay, still don't feel bad. Like that actually, I craved a little bit, and if that's the only symptom that I'm gonna get, maybe that could be my holiday dessert. So it opens up your mind to a completely different perspective of, like you said, it's not all or nothing. You can have things if you're willing to compromise with the symptoms, or if it's like simply like all you have access to. Now, if I had access to like things like a soy burger, I'm highly sensitive to soy. That's probably my worst one. If I only had access to a soy burger, I would choose to starve because those symptoms are just way too aggressive for me, and they last like 7 days. And I'm like, nope, that's something I want nothing to do with that. But if it's something like, like a piece of chicken just makes my face break out, where it's like, okay, if that's the only thing I have access to, I'm gonna like make sure to retinol my face tonight and like be proactive and drink lots of water and try to flush it through my system with minimal breakouts. But I know I'm gonna wake up with a blemish in the morning. So understanding that it's not gonna kill me, but I'm just gonna set up a protocol that's gonna allow me to like get it through my system faster. Something that I had mentioned earlier was using exercise as a form of a digestive enzyme. So for those who do struggle to digest foods, we will always make sure that if they encounter those situations where they're like, oh my God, I thought I was making all the right choices. I went out to dinner and my heartburn, indigestion, all that stuff is flaring right now. I know I sparked inflammatory response. it is not optional if they want to work out or not. Like they at least have to get on, like if they're at a hotel, get on a treadmill. If you're like out on the farm, go outside, go for a walk. Like at least help your body metabolize the foods so the symptoms stay a lot lower. And this is why a lot of range people don't know that they're living with a lot of symptoms. They're moving all day. They're picking up baby calves, like especially right now, calving season. Like, hello, you're doing lots of activity. You're picking up a lot of heavy things, shoveling snow, moving buckets of feed. Like, you're constantly moving, feeding, doing chores to where a lot of people don't know that they're sitting with joint pain. They don't know that they're sitting with muscle pain. They just like wake up in the morning, they're like, "Ah, my lower back hurts." Well, that's the liver and kidney distress. So when you're constantly waking up every single morning with lower back pain and your body is constantly feeling stress in your liver and kidneys, that's what's going to lead to chronic illnesses. So your body is always communicating with you with those red flag symptoms. And it's really critical for you to learn to listen. Because when I first started my journey, I had no idea what listening to your body was. I was like, what are these people talking about? They know their body so well. I was like, I literally have normal headaches. I have normal PMS symptoms. I was normalizing. I'm getting old. I was 28 years old. I'm getting old. I have, normal sore joints. My body's slow to recover. It's because I'm out of shape. Like I was literally creating this bubble and conforming to what normal was. What normal actually is no pain, no headaches, no PMS symptoms. Literally, you waking up, bouncing out of bed every single morning, feeling like you have purpose with life and like you are ready to attack the day. If you are feeling anything less than that, boy, there's some things that need to be worked on. And I will tell you this from a place of I was in complete denial before I started that there was anything wrong with me. And then when I learned how to change your pH balance of your body odor, then I was like, okay, what else can I learn? Like, there were certain things that surfaced for me that I was like, okay, now that I'm learning this, what's the next level? So for you, like, were there any aha moments like with your nutrition besides the pork that you were just kind of like, oh, okay, this is new?
I think honestly, the pork was my biggest thing because growing up, it was like we obviously grew up on a ranch as well. And so steak all the time and stuff like that. But then, like, I grew up with a sensitive stomach. So, like, I couldn't have like super greasy foods. I knew I had a sensitive stomach from a very young age, and I got it from my dad. Like, he was like, "Hey, welcome to the club, girlfriend. We're here together." And it was just like hey, we're here together. We're going to be miserable together, not a like, oh, hey, let's figure out exactly what foods are doing this, exactly all of these things. And so for me, I went to college, and that's when my like health and wellness journey absolutely like I jumped off the deep end. I was like, I want to figure everything out. And now I'm like in my late, like mid 20s, and I'm married, and my husband and I are like the Huberman couple that we're always like listening to podcasts, and like Gary Brecker and Andrew Huberman, they're up there in our household on like who we listen to and all of these things. But it's one of those things for us that it was becoming, it came to a point where it was like, okay, I either need to figure this out and stop feeling like shit every day, or like I just have to accept that like it's my own fault. Like I'm doing this to myself. I can't blame anyone else anymore. I can't put it on like, oh, well, now I'm the one that's buying the food. I'm the one that's doing the meal plans. I'm like, we're making these decisions very consciously. And it's the fact, like you said earlier, of not going back to that default, and really just being super, super aware was the biggest thing that changed for me. Of like, you said earlier, listening to your body is what changes a lot. And for me, that was the catapult of like learning how to listen to my body. So I wouldn't say that other than the pork, there were like a bunch of aha moments. But I will say that now that I know how to listen to my body, I know that if I have ice cream at night, I'm probably going to wake up with a headache in the morning. Like I've just become attuned to the fact that like I'm not tracking my food, but I know what I'm eating. And then I'm very conscious of like, oh, well, I know what that headache's from or things like that.
Absolutely. And like, so I hear this a lot in the past where, and you had just mentioned it just now of, I had a little bit of a stomach that was off when you were little.
Hmm.
And I hear kind of like the opposite though, where some people are like, well, I had Oreos when I was little and I was fine. Or, I had Fruit Loops when
Yeah.
I was a kid and I was fine. But here's the reality. I mean, there's like two parts to that. One,
Hmm.
food is made different now. So there's a lot different preservatives. There's a lot different ingredients that they're using now. There's a lot more ingredients that they're able to get away with. And, something that's been all over the news here lately was red dye has been banned. Okay, well, what about the yellow, the blue, the other reds? Like, are we going to look at all the color dyes, or are we just pinpointing one? We're just blaming one of the siblings. So the way our food is made completely different than it was when we were children. Going back to environmental situations, when you're a kid and you're sitting at the kitchen table and you are stress free, you have love all the way around you, of course you're going to digest it really well. But when you're an adult and you have bills to pay, you are extremely frustrated in life. You maybe have a toxic relationship of someone that you're living with, or just something emotional. Say someone close to you passes away, you're dealing with emotional trauma. Boy, you're going to start digesting foods a little bit different. And then here's the other thing that happens with us leaving our original home and then moving into college homes, which are cheap, sometimes mold infested. When you go on to careers and you're trying to, like, hey, I have so much college debt, I got to look for cheap homes to live in. When you go to cheap living options, doesn't even need to be cheap. It could be expensive apartments or expensive homes that have cases of mold where one of the pipes might have cracked, a little water leaks, and then all of a sudden now you have this outbreak. Or the vents weren't set up properly in your house, and now you have that warm or cold moisture coming in, and it's exchanging and creating the perfect environment for mold to grow. So when you have mold toxicity, and it's living in your body because you're breathing in those spores all the time, and it's now starting to become part of your body because it's getting stored in your fat. This is why a lot of people who are gaining weight are finding a really hard time losing weight, but they'll lose 5 pounds and then gain 5 pounds back. They'll lose 10 pounds, gain 10 pounds back, and they're in this constant yo-yo. It could be something environmentally that is traumatizing your body. But here's the thing, toxins over time, and it could have been like, hey, in college, I drank a lot of Red Bull and ate Oreos. That was actually me. So th- I didn't feel my absolute best until I got completely lean in bodybuilding. It's because all those toxins were stored in my fat. And when I had gotten like rail lean, like stage lean, that was the first time I was like, I feel great. And then when I did the reverse from that and gained a little bit more body fat to help stabilize hormones, I felt even better. And I was like, is there another gear I'm gonna hit? Because let's go. It was just one of those things that was like, life is getting better and better and better. And then you learn like different things about your body, like, okay, when I'm on a deficit, how do I fuel my brain power so that I'm running on all speed, for brain power and stuff like that. But if anybody is not hitting that level 1000 amazing, or like, looking for those like actual revs of like, how could I feel better? Most of the time they're living in a toxic environment of something that is either mold infested or something that's not allowing them to get past their plateau. So I always tell people, do full assessments. And this is something I'm writing a book on right now. It should be done by the end of this week. So it's very exciting. It's called the Mold Detox. So it's all about how to eliminate mold in your home, how to eliminate mold in your body, and do it the most effective way possible. Because yes, cleansing yourself is part of it with the use of binders. Some people can use enemas. Like there are certain things that get like very holistic. You can use castor oil packs, but there is also understanding that making sure that you go on a weight loss journey is very vital to anybody who's ever been in a mold situation, because you want to make sure all of it gets eliminated from your body so that you can get to optimal health faster. So, like environmental things, not necessarily are just the people who surround you. It could be the physical environment that you're in. And then when you start looking at things even deeper, you're like, okay, what is the largest organ in the human body? Your skin. Our skin is the largest organ in our body. Is there chlorine that's like tapping through your skin through your shower? Do you need to go through your home and put new filters on your actual, like all of your faucets? Do you need to look at your skincare routine, your lotions, the fragrances that you're putting on you? You know, your fragrances are going to be endocrine disruptors. So ultimately, when we look at endocrine disruptors, it's basically going to disrupt your endocrine system. And when you dive deeper on that, I want to use the perspective of why farmers use pesticides. Pesticide is one of the largest endocrine disruptors. Pesticides are used on crops clearly to deflect bugs, but the main purpose was not intentionally deflecting bugs. Because if you notice, bugs actually are attracted to the pesticide once it's sprayed on. The whole reason of a bug eating a little bit of that pesticide that's on the plant is it's an endocrine disruptor for that. I'm going to use grasshopper for example, and it allows them to throw their hormones off so they are infertile. This is how bugs don't populate as pesticides. So now you wonder, a lot of people are eating fruits and vegetables right now with the same pesticides on them, but then all of a sudden everybody's having a hard time getting pregnant. Endocrine disruptors. A lot of the clients that come to me for infertility, we do full assessments with endocrine disruptors. We look into skin, hair, all the products that they put on their body. Fragrances are eliminated. And this even goes for things that you plug in your wall, the air fresheners in your car. All of the fragrances, if it is an endocrine disruptor, it is affecting your pheromones, it is affecting your hormones to be stable, it is affecting so many things in your life. And the reason you put fragrance on is because the pH of your body isn't stable. So I actually don't wear deodorant. I don't brush my teeth with toothpaste. I got an issue with fluorine. Like, there is a thing when you learn how to control the candida production in your body, you no longer have things like body odor. You no longer have skin issues. You no longer have plaque growing on your tongue. And that's why understanding your nutrition from a deeper level surfaces so much on the improvements that you can make in your life. So, broad spectrum, like, yes, environmental is a big thing that gets overlooked by most health and wellness professionals, but gosh, from the people to the things, the it could be fabrics that you're putting on your skin. Like, I have to make sure that I wear certain fabrics because if there's fabrics that are super high in zinc, boy, my skin will break out. So understanding that, and then laundry detergents. Now we're getting into that. Homemade laundry detergents. Where does mold form? Laundry machines, if it's not properly taken care of. Dishwashers, like Brita filters that you have in your fridge. So there's so many things to look at broad spectrum. And that's why we have like that environmental checklist, is because sometimes there is so many, but for someone to literally go through their home. Maybe they need to change light bulbs. Maybe there's like certain things about fluorescent lighting that affects their ability to really calibrate with their circadian rhythm when it comes to like grounding in the morning. So when you look in your environment, there are so many things that could surface of like, hey, we could do these micro improvements here, but it not just helping you out as a person, it making your whole family unit so much stronger. It's because you have the foundational knowledge to know what is right and what is wrong. And like a lot of people like look at all those environmental things and they're like, oh, it's so expensive. It's actually not. It's so much cheaper to eliminate or to custom make your soaps or laundry detergents. It is so wild. I had a client that actually wrote it out in terms of like how much they were spending on like cleaning supplies, all of that stuff. And then like with the new protocol, they're like, I literally spent $200 for 6 months on the new protocol. And they're like, before I spent like 3,000 on like all these things I thought I needed and all these cleaning supplies. So like when you have the foundational knowledge, your life gets so much more simple, so much more economically friendly. So now you don't have the extra added stress of like, how am I going to make that extra 2,500 a month to pay for this? Because you just saved yourself on so many environmental expenses. So health and wellness, if done the right way, is very cost effective. And then at the same time, like it is the best thing for creating that generational wealth that anybody could wish upon their family. Like being able to pass these skill sets on to kids, like I just like tell parents like when they go through the process, they're like, this is unbelievable. Like my kid had ADHD. We learned how to solve it. He's off medication and then he's going to college for XYZ right now. Like, it's just really cool to see that growth and how everybody applies it individually.
Yeah, it is. And it's one of the biggest things for me on that like generational wealth that you were talking about is that you can be the one. Like you can be the one that changes the stride for your family. You can be the one that brings your parents along with you. I know people that are battling dementia right now that because they're getting their health and wellness together, that the kids are probably bringing them along on that journey, that they're seeing such improvement in their symptoms and stuff like that. And so we could talk for hours of all the things to do or all the things to get rid of or all of the things like that, but just know that like you can be the one. You can be the one to start small and just start where you can. When you run out of something, just go make a healthier switch. Go find like just go start doing research, go start listening to different podcasts or reading different papers or getting in contact with Callyn and her team and like all of that stuff. Callyn, if someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, this is all great, where do I start? What would your recommendation for them be?
So we have everyone start in one place, and that's with our 5 day challenge. So in 5 days, we take you from being one of those people that's just curious, wanting to gain curiosity about health and wellness, and we have you start taking action immediately. We want you to start like applying daily things for those 5 days. And by day 5, you are thinking from a totally different perspective of like, oh wow, this is what health and wellness is. Like, this is so much easier than what I thought it was. So in our 5 day challenge, like to see the mental elevation of everybody go through it is absolutely life changing. And some of the reviews that we had from clients, they'll be like, oh my gosh, if your vision was to empower women, let's go, you guys are doing it. So we use it as a tool to help empower men and women that they can start dreaming again. Because here's the reality. When you go to high school and you're graduating high school, everybody's like, what do you want to be? You want to be a doctor? You want to do XYZ, like whatever job you want to be. And then when you go to college, people stop asking you, what are you going to be? Most of the time they know you're already like, going to school for a specific career, but it's like people stop dreaming in college and they confine to the norms of like, oh, this is the first job I got. I'm going to stay here for a while. I'm going to get comfortable. But when you were in high school, you were allowed to dream. So in the 5 day challenge, that's the biggest like mental shift that we see people go through is they believe they can start dreaming again about their passions, like what's going to give them purpose. And a lot of the time, it has nothing to do with getting abs or getting in the best shape of their life, even though we market it that way. Like we want you to like have the dream body. But a lot of people start thinking like, I want to start that business or I want to hit my first $1 million, or some are like, hey, I want to hit that $10 million, like we have people that are truly wanting to go to that next level. And it's like they feel like it is a space where like they can truly start dreaming for them and not everybody else. That's the safe place in the 5 day challenge. that right there is going to at least get you thinking in a direction of what is next for me. So our next challenge is going to be March 3rd, and it's at dialedin.com, and we'll put the link below where people can find the 5-day challenge. But that is a great kickstart for them to becoming absolutely unrecognizable by next year. And that's our goal with everyone, is the person that you truly feel deep down inside, we want to let that person out. We know they are raring to show their face. And like for a lot of men and women, they're like, I wasn't brought up that way. Well, guess what? I was raised on a cattle farm. And now I'm hanging out on yachts and going to all these balls and galas and stuff like that. And I am living a completely different quality of life. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. If you are raised in an environment where you have no fear and you will chase any dream, and if you want to be that one person that creates generational wealth, not only from a health standpoint, but also from that foundation of actual fundamental wealth, like if you want to be the black sheep of your family, like we're the right place to be.
Yes. Oh, I couldn't have thought of a better way to just sum all of that up. That if you want to be the black sheep of your family, go reach out to Callyn and her team. They are just absolutely amazing. And if you didn't walk away from this absolutely motivated to like go change the world, then I don't know what's wrong with you. Go like there was something here for everyone. And I'm so grateful for just your wealth of knowledge, Callyn. As we start to round this out, I would love to ask you the same question I ask all of our guests. And that is, what is your one piece of advice that you have for the next generation of agriculture?
I always say start your health and wellness journey tomorrow. Literally start tomorrow. Every single client that literally goes through our program is like, I wish I would have started years ago. I wish I would have known this in my 20s. I wish I would have known this back then. You can't start soon enough. And that is the biggest thing that I can tell people is find out your nutrition like foundation, start there, and then build off of that. It's because health and wellness is not something that is a short program. It's not a short journey. It's not a 3 months. It's the whole rest of your life. And when you look at fitness from the perspective of being mentally fit, physically fit, financially fit, when you are fit in all aspects of your life, sometimes it starts with a simple meal plan of you understanding the foundation of your nutrition, binding that with mindset, and then allowing that to springboard your future. Everybody has different learning opportunities, and the sooner you can have those learning opportunities, the sooner you can have what some people might call failures, but we call learning opportunities. The sooner you can have any opportunity, you got to realize the human body was designed for movement, momentum, moving forward, and pursuing something. So pursue your health, pursue wellness, and pursue overall generational wealth, because that is where your 90-year-old version of yourself is going to thank you so dearly for creating the life of your dreams.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Callyn. I am just so grateful for you coming onto this podcast and everything that you have shared with us today. To all of you listeners out there, I will have all of Callyn's links down in the show notes. So go check out all of her different websites, all of the different programs. We will have that March 3rd program linked down below as well. So make sure you go sign up for that, and all of the things in between. Callyn, thank you for coming on. And to all of you listeners out there, we will see you all next week on another episode of the Next Generation Podcast.